You're in the middle of counting money when the call comes in. Not your money, his money. You have been counting his money for 11 years, stacking it, logging it, moving it through accounts that exist in countries that ask no questions and keep no records. You are the best at this. That is the only reason you are still alive. Men in this organization who are merely good do not last 11 years. Men who are irreplaceable do. The phone on the corner of the counting table lights up. It is Toro. You set down the brick of hundreds in your hand. You set it down carefully, the way you set everything down in this life. Slowly, without sudden movements, without anything that could be misread. 11 years, and that habit is carved so deep into your nervous system that you do it in your sleep. You answer. Toro does not say hello. He says 4 words. El señor está muerto. The boss is dead. You sit in the silence of the counting room for 60 seconds after the call ends. You count them deliberately. 60 seconds is the amount of time you allow yourself to feel things before you have to stop feeling them and start thinking. You learned this in your 3rd year. Before that, you were slower. Slower got 2 people you worked with killed. You are not slow anymore. El Señor is dead. The man who found you 11 years ago in a failing accounting firm in Guadalajara, who sat across from you in a restaurant and slid an envelope across the table and said, "I need someone who understands numbers and does not ask questions." The man who made you rich. The man who made you complicit. The man who made you his. Dead at 61 years old in a hospital room in Culiacan, with 3 of his most trusted men outside the door, and 2 federal agents who somehow knew exactly which room he was in. You think about that last detail for a long time. Then you stand up, straighten your jacket, and you go to the meeting. The compound is different when you arrive. You have been coming to this compound for 11 years. You know the sound of it, the particular rhythm of guards rotating, dogs moving on their chains, the low-frequency hum of generators behind the main house. Tonight the sound is wrong. Too many voices. Wrong positions. Men clustering in groups rather than holding their posts, which means they are talking rather than watching, which means the organization has already started coming apart at the seams before the body is even cold. You count the factions as you walk from the gate to the main house. Toro's men, 7, clustered near the east wall, all of them with the particular stillness of men who have already made a decision and are waiting to act on it. Valdez's men, 5, near the vehicle depot, watching Toro's group with the careful attention of people who do not trust what they are watching. The others, scattered, undecided, reading the room the way you are reading it. 14 men with weapons, and no clear commander between them, and a meeting that has not started yet. You walk through all of them and go inside. The meeting room is a long table in a room that smells like cigar smoke and old wood. 12 men. You know all of them. You have counted their money, which means you know more about each of them than they know about themselves, their debts, their habits, their loyalties, their weaknesses. 11 years of ledgers tells you everything about a man that his face tries to hide. Toro sits at the head of the table, not El Señor's chair. That chair is empty, which is either a show of respect or a political calculation. You are not yet sure which. Toro is broad, scarred, the kind of man who communicates primarily through the weight of his presence rather than words. He has been loyal to El Señor for 20 years. He is also ambitious in the specific way that men who have spent 20 years being loyal to someone else become ambitious when that someone else is no longer there. Valdez sits to Toro's left, thin, precise, the organization's logistics architect. Valdez has moved product across 6 borders without a single lost shipment in 9 years. He is also the person you trust least in this room, which is saying something given the room. 9 others around the table, all waiting. They all look at you when you walk in. Not the way they usually look at you. Usually you are furniture. useful, necessary, invisible, the way things that work perfectly become invisible. Tonight they look at you the way people look at something they want, because tonight every person in this room understands the same thing. You are the only one who knows where everything is. Every account, every route, every contact in every country, every number that keeps this organization breathing. Without you, none of them can run what El Señor built. Not for a week. Not for a day. You are the most powerful person at this table, and you have never once held a gun. You sit down. Toro speaks first. He says El Señor is gone, and the organization cannot survive without leadership. He says the routes are already at risk. 3 shipments in transit, 2 border crossings scheduled for this week. A payment due to the Sinaloa connection by Friday that cannot be missed without consequences none of them want. He looks at you when he says the payment. He says, we need the accounts, we need the contacts, we need someone who can make the calls and keep everything moving. He slides a phone across the table. On the screen is a contact list. Every supplier, every distributor, every politician and banker and federal officer on the payroll. He says, all you have to do is make the calls. Tell them El Señor is gone. Tell them the organization continues. Tell them you're in charge. Just make the calls. The room is completely silent. 12 men watching you. You look at the phone. You think about what making those calls would mean. Right now you are the accountant. You are invisible in the way essential things become invisible. You move money. You keep records. You do not appear in any file, any photograph, any federal database of significance. You are a ghost with a very particular skill set and 11 years of very particular knowledge. The moment you make those calls, you stop being a ghost. You become the face, the name, the target. Every rival organization that has spent years trying to find the pressure point of this one. They find it the moment your name is attached to a phone call from El Señor's number. Every federal agency with an open file on this organization gets a new lead. Every ambitious man in this room who is smiling at you right now sharpens a knife for you in the same breath. You have watched 3 bosses die in 11 years. You kept their books too. You understand exactly how this works. You understand it better than anyone in this room because you have seen the numbers, the real numbers, not the ones they tell each other, the ones in the ledgers that only you have ever read. You know how much the organization is worth. You know how much of that worth evaporates the moment there is a transition. You know what a power vacuum costs in this business. You also know something none of them know. You have been preparing for this moment for 3 years. Not this moment exactly, but a moment like it. A moment when the thing you are part of becomes too unstable to stay inside. You have accounts they have never seen. 4 of them, in 3 countries, holding enough to disappear completely. Not enough to live extravagantly, enough to live quietly in a place where no one knows your name, doing work that doesn't require you to count other people's money in rooms with no windows. You built that exit the same way you built everything, carefully, patiently, invisibly. Toro is still looking at you. The phone is still on the table. You pick it up. The room leans forward. You look at Toro, then Valdez, then the 9 others. You set it back down. You tell Toro you need to use the bathroom. You say it the way you say everything in this life, calmly, without urgency, without anything that could be misread. Toro almost smiles. He waves a hand at the door. You stand up. You button your jacket. You walk out of the meeting room. You do not go to the bathroom. You walk down the east corridor. You have walked this corridor 11 years. You know every turn by muscle memory. Past the kitchen, past the generator room, through the service door that opens onto the vehicle yard. Your car is in the 3rd position from the left. It has been in the 3rd position from the left every time you have come to this compound, because you put it there yourself, every time, for exactly this reason. You get in, you start the engine, you drive to the gate slowly, the way you always drive to the gate, because running looks like guilt, and the guards have been watching people try to run out of this compound for years, and they know what it looks like. You nod at the guard. He nods back. You drive through. You have 3 passports. You did not acquire them recently. You acquired them 18 months ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. In the same incremental, patient way, you do everything. The man who made them does not know your real name. The addresses on them lead nowhere. The identities are solid enough for border crossings in 3 different regions of the world. You have been Callum Torres for 6 months in the records that matter. Before that, you were Daniel Marsh for 8 months. Before that, someone else entirely. The money is already moving. You initiated the first transfer 40 minutes ago, sitting in the counting room after Toro's call, while you were counting 60 seconds, 4 transfers to 4 accounts. By morning, the trail will be cold enough that even someone who knows what to look for will not find it quickly. And no one in that meeting room knows what to look for. That is the thing about being the accountant. You're also the only person who understands the books. You drive north for 2 hours without stopping. At the 3rd hour, you pull into a petrol station, and you sit in the car, and you think about 11 years. The restaurant in Guadalajara. The envelope across the table. The first time you walked into the counting room and understood that you had crossed a line that didn't cross back. The 3 bosses before El Señor who trusted you with their numbers, and whose numbers you kept faithfully right up until the end. You think about the phone on the table, Toro's face when you set it back down. You think about the 12 men in that room and the 14 men in the compound, and the organization that will spend the next several months tearing itself apart in a way that was always going to happen. You have seen the numbers. You know exactly how long the money lasts before the fractures become fatal. And you think about the fact that you're not in that room for any of it. You think about the counting room, the bricks of hundreds, the ledgers that exist and the ones that don't. You think about how many times in 11 years someone looked at you and saw furniture. You fill the tank. You get back in the car. You drive north. The organization is behind you now, fracturing along the lines you always knew it would. The accounts emptying in the sequence you always planned. The 3 passports in the bag on the passenger seat representing 3 different versions of a future that has nothing to do with counting other people's money. Somewhere in a compound in Culiacan, 12 men are still sitting at a long table waiting for you to come back from the bathroom. They are going to be waiting for a very long time.